So this afternoon, I'm going to cover the topic of what to expect when you are vacating the property that you have just sold. So I'm just going to cover a few reminders for you as you are preparing to vacate the property and hand over keys to the new buyer. I'm going to share my screen here and just show you a few things that are good points for you to keep in mind as you go through this final step in the process of selling your home. Obviously, when you're selling your home, you're expected to completely vacate the property, removing all personal belongings and leave it in a clean, broom swept condition. This means clearing out furniture, trash, and any items not included in the sale, and ensuring that the home is free of debris and dust. Okay, that is the expectation within our forms, and that is the expectation in the industry as a whole. One thing that does come up from time to time is people will say, hey, I've got some previous paint that was left over from the home, or I've got some roofing material, or I've got some extra trim or things like that go with the home. Well, technically, if we're going to leave any of those things, that we are supposed to clear that with the buyer broker and buyer first. The buyer may not want those things, and as the way that our contracts read, we cannot just leave stuff that we and just assume that the buyer wants these things. So if you have anything along those lines, more often than not, people do say yes to those items because they obviously are going with the home, or they're useful to the home. But at the same time, you don't want to make assumptions what people may or may not want. Okay. So obviously, clear the house. All furniture, personal belongings, trash should be removed from the property, including the attic, basement, garage, and outbuildings. This does come up from time to time. People will inadvertently leave stuff in the attic, sometimes in the crawl space, and as this mentions, sheds, things of that nature. So a lot of times it's just out of sight, out of mind. People will store stuff in maybe a pull down in the garage or something like that, where they'll leave Christmas decorations or whatever, and then forget to clear that stuff out when they're moving. So items included in the sale: ensure any items or fixtures that were agreed to remain in the property, like appliances, light fixtures, window treatments, are in place and in good working order. This is the time to double check your purchase and sale agreement. Make sure that you are leaving behind the appliances that are agreed upon within the contract. And once again, not making any assumptions. And obviously, light fixtures are considered a fixture and should remain unless excluded in the agreement. Same thing goes with window treatments. Okay. Leave it clean. While a deep clean isn't always required, the home should be left in a reasonably clean state, typically broom swept. This means wiping down countertops, cleaning out drawers, sweeping and vacuuming floors, and giving the kitchen and bathroom a quick once over. That being said, I do see quite a few people that do have a professional cleaner come in behind after they've made their move. That's obviously a really nice gesture to the buyers. But it is not a requirement for the home to be professionally clean per se. So the standard is broom swept condition. Okay. This is another thing just be aware of along this topic. Final walkthrough before closing. Buyers will often conduct a final walkthrough before closing to ensure the property is in agreed upon condition. The way our purchase and sale agreements read is there's a 5-day period prior to closing for the buyer to conduct this final walkthrough. And so they're entitled to that time to be able to make sure that the property's still in the same condition it was when they first offered on the property and had it inspected if they did an inspection. So they do have the right to do that. And if the property has had damage since the escrow period or during the escrow period, then it's the seller's responsibility to repair those damaged items before we close, or at least come up with some sort of terms with the buyer if there is some damage. This confirming condition, obviously this is the buyer's last chance to confirm the property is empty and meets the contractual specifications. Meeting the expectations during the final walkthrough helps ensure a smooth closing. Obviously, if you know of something that's happened, if you are aware of movers damaging the property in some way or another, or if something's changed, by all means let us know. We certainly don't want to hold up the closing because of something that we're unaware of. And then just some additional considerations here. Be courteous. It's considered good practice to leave a note, a card, or even a small gift for the new owners if you're feeling gracious. Also, too, what I've seen here is a lot of times people will leave behind manuals for appliances. They'll also leave behind, any kind of information that would be helpful in regards to like layout. Sometimes there's architectural drawings, anything that you think would be pertinent to the new buyer, is appreciated in this category. Communicate with us, of course. Let your realtor know when you vacated the property. We appreciate that. Sometimes this is a hectic time typically for sellers, and sometimes people will move out and we won't be aware of that. And it is nice for us to know if the property's been vacated and all that, especially when the buyer broker reaches out to do the final walkthrough. They'll often ask, is the seller completely moved out or not yet? A lot of times they'll want to wait until the seller is completely moved out for obvious reasons. If the movers are coming in and they want to do their final walkthrough after the movers have completed versus before, just for that very reason. Sometimes stuff happens. I had one recently where a mover ended up poking a hole in the sheetrock when they were moving a couch, and so that sheetrock needed to be repaired prior to closing. So. And then just, consider the contract. We already touched on this earlier, but just make sure that you understand what the appliances that are to stay and not. There's nothing worse than, a seller vacating the property and taking the washer and dryer with them and then finding out, oops, that was supposed to stay. That was part of the purchase and sale agreement and should have remained, and seller took it inadvertently. So anyways, if you have any other questions about the process as you are preparing your home to vacate, let us know. 206-949-3793 is my cell. We'll talk to you soon.